Greetings, travelers.
Greetings, travelers in Monster May.
Monster May is
Yeah,
continuing. We are getting there. We've moved right along in this month. It's flying by. We've had a lot of fun with it.
we have had a lot of fun this month, so I think
Yeah.
it's exciting, and
Yeah.
we are very lucky today because we have some quite famous or infamous guests today. I'm sure they would go to either side of that particular fence, but
We'll favor the infamous side.
I figured you did, but I was trying to be slightly nice in the intro portion of our show.
Yes. Yep. They made the mistake of having us on their show just recently, and that was live. So you never know what's going to come out of Erika and I live, but we figured we owed them by having them back on us. So
I don't know if we owed them or they're gracing us with their presence,
I
but
think it's a little bit of both. I think we owed them an apology. So
yeah.
this is how we do it.
Mark, do you want to do an intro of our amazing guests?
Yes, I was going to say they've already kind of slipped through there, but this is the team behind Wild and Weird Radio of West Virginia fame. Oh my gosh, I love listening to these guys. I've known them for a few years now. They are gracious hosts at their events. They are amazing investigators of all things high strangeness like us. They are a lover of all things cryptids, ghosts, and all kinds of paranormal phenomena. But let's welcome Ron Lanham and Joe Perdue.
Thanks for having us, guys.
One thing too that I is being introduced into this in the last year or so by Mark. Well, that's one way to put it. I love that you guys create a community. That is what's really exciting to me with what you guys do, is that you created a community for everyone to be a part of, and it's very inclusive. And I think that's amazing.
Well, thanks. We set out from day one to do that, and I think it's absolutely blown our minds. We talk about it all the time. We really can't believe that people tune in the way they do, and we're grateful that they do.
Yeah, it was really intentional when we decided to start the community that we did, because we've belonged to various other communities through the ages and had always had to struggle, and kind of fight to find a place to belong.
That's a polite word.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where when we started this and the initial momentum that we got, we knew we had to do something with it that was going to be different than the other, I guess you could say, treatments that we had received over the years from various other places, from the reptile community, from the music community, from and then the paranormal world. We wanted to make a place where, hey, look, if we're somehow going to find something, and that's going to be a landmark that people can gravitate to, then let's do it, and let's run with it, and let's make something that's really freaking cool.
And I think you've accomplished that. Absolutely, hands down, accomplished that, which is great, especially because every listener pretty much to us goes, I know you might think I'm crazy, and we need to get rid of that stigma, because they're not. Well, some of them might be, but only in the good way. Only in the good way.
We're all just a little crazy, aren't we? I mean, we go out and we talk to ourselves inside of dark buildings at night, and look for machines to verify those answers. I mean, some people would call that crazy. I don't call that crazy. I call that thinking outside the box. And I think our goal is we said it from day one, normalize the paranormal. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, can I ask you both, because I know Mark may not have your history, but can I ask you, it doesn't matter, I'm asking anyway. Trying to do a polite effing interview here. No, just kidding. What got you each individually started into this arena? Like, where was the catalyst that began your journey into the paranormal?
I blame aliens. Joe?
Yeah, mine was more Bigfoot centric, and just general interest in the unknown and whatnot, and having that kind of a relationship with a grandparent that kind of fostered that, and then a teacher when I was in 7th grade. He was a real push behind that and kind of stuck me in the direction. Then I had an encounter, and after I had an encounter, I wanted to know why or what even.
That's awesome, though. Having that kind of support at a younger age, Because I think a lot of
Oh,
times,
it was just two people.
but that still counts. There are a lot of us that
Better,
didn't
better
count.
than most of us. Better than most of us. That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
usually one more than we get. So
Yeah, I think
sometimes
we were.
two more than we get. So
I think we were both pretty lucky in that respect.
Yeah, we were.
We were very lucky in that respect. My mom always did support me as far as it goes with paranormal research and whatnot. She thought I was crazy, but in a good way. But she supported me. Always, the Time Life books, I had all those.
Oh, yeah.
That was. I mean, if your parents buy you mysteries, Time Life mysteries, you know that you're probably good. Yeah, but mine did start with a UFO sighting, which led to other things, led to psychic research, which led to this and that. And it's a long, complicated story. One day I'll put it down the book, but I just, right now, too many things.
We are in Monster May, as we call it, a self-designated monster month. What are your guys' favorite monsters?
Probably my two kids.
Yeah.
But when it gets into the monster world, that's a hard one to pin down just simply because of the phrase monster. Monster is used a lot of the time, and it puts a boundary almost like with the Flatwoods monster. Flatwoods alien is far better fitting.
I agree 100% on
You
that.
know, things like that. Favorite monster, man.
Well, and it doesn't even have to be paranormal. Like, what is your favorite? We're in Monster May. What is your favorite monster?
Oh, freaking Godzilla.
Godzilla. I
There you
knew what he was
go.
going to say. He was going to say Godzilla.
Look at that. That wasn't too hard.
Nah,
Yeah, Godzilla, hands down.
I was going to answer it for
Give
you.
me the atomic breath and the reaping of what you sow kind of narrative. Yeah, I'm all about me some Godzilla.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Did you like the latest movie?
Again, I have kids.
yeah.
So like I haven't been to a movie theater since well, I take that back. I took my oldest to go see the latest Ghostbusters film on a senior citizens discount Tuesday and somehow got the discount, even though I'm like not even
Take it when you go, man. When they offer it, I'm like, that was my favorite thing was when the guy came up to me at the Denny's and said, "Would you like our senior menu?" And I said, "Sure."
Right. I mean, I'll run with it. Prior to that, like I hadn't been in an actual theater with people since like 2018. So I haven't seen the new movies yet. I'm waiting for them to come out so I can buy them because I know they're good and they're going to immediately go on the collection with the rest of the Godzilla movies that I already own. So
I'm not going to lie, it's on Prime right now and you can buy it if you want to. Just throwing that out there.
They're both good in their own ways. -one's incredible and I enjoyed
I can't wait for -1.
New one. Yeah. The new one was fine. So all right, Ron, what about you?
Oh, it's got to be Mothman. I mean, Mothman's, practically family. So,
Yeah.
that's my whatever it is. Here's to you, Mothy.
Have you guys actually done a hunt I don't like the word hunt, but I guess a trek or research into trying to find Mothman? Because there have been recent sightings.
Well, I mean, I kind of saw something that was similar to Mothman, so I didn't really set out to hunt for it or research it. It just kind of fell in my lap. But that's it's really funny because I remember when we first started doing Wild and Weird, and there's a lot of Mothman stuff. We did a lot of Mothman stuff at the time, and I actually had someone who contacted me, and I swear it could almost been the Men in Black for real. They said, "You remember this, Joe? Don't look into the Mothman thing. Please tell me you're not going to look into that because there's nothing to that." And I actually looked them up. I found out they're real people, though. It wasn't a hoax.
Yeah, he was just a religious nut job.
Yeah. And I said, "Well, don't worry."
And that's coming from a former pastor. Right. He was a religious nut job.
And I said, "Well, don't worry because, it was 1966, 67, and I don't have a time machine. And I think that's when this happened and there wouldn't be anything like that again." Now, here's dumb me thinking this. And it wasn't until, a little bit later that we ran into someone at one of the conventions. I think it was Linda, right?
Yeah, it was Linda Sigmund at OBC. She was just walking around, talking to people, taking pictures of people. And
Linda was there, and she picked up one of my paintings, and she looks at me and says, "You've seen it?" And I'm like, "I saw something once, but I don't know what it was." And I explained it to her, and I was like, "But it didn't have red eyes." And she's like, "Well, they don't always have red eyes." I'm like, "What?" And at that point, I did start researching, and I'm like, oh my, well then, maybe, who knows? But that's a very complicated story, and it just falls right into the other weird things that I've seen and experienced. So it doesn't surprise me anymore.
That's interesting that you bring up somebody coming up to you. How frequent is it that you, as a team, have people coming trying to stop you from looking into stuff? Because, Mark and I have been doing this together, because he, of course, is in the world of the weird for much longer. And we already have people telling us to stop what we're doing, which is interesting.
We simply don't care. I'm to the point at this point, I don't care.
We've only actually formally had it happen, I think twice ever.
Yeah.
But in person, we're probably never going to have that happen because I'm 6'3", 250 some pounds. Nobody really comes and tells us what to do. Like,
it doesn't
they
really
don't
matter.
They look at you and they kind of like, okay, he's kind of scary looking anyway. Because I'm not mean. I look mean, but I'm not. But if somebody's like, that's their intent and their goal, they like look at the table and they see, oh, not that guy. And
there's too many other things to worry about. And if your hang up is us looking into paranormal phenomena, something that you think that doesn't even exist, then move on. I mean, it's just that simple. I'm not going to fight you over it. I'm just going to tell you, I don't care. I've been on this planet long enough to know who matters, and what does and what doesn't. And I'm not wasting my time on the things that don't matter.
That's a good way to look at it. I was curious because it's when it happened, I was like, well, this is interesting.
I mean, like us, I'm sure you guys get the opposite though. You get a lot of the, hey, thank God I found you guys. I have something to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we live for. That's why we do
same.
it.
Yeah, same. And if we're making a difference in those people's lives, that's why I said I just don't care if someone has a issue with us at that point, because I'm seeing total strangers come up to the table and I almost cry at times, right, Joe? Yeah. It's wild.
They're so happy to have that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I can finally pour this out. And we had Adam Hutton on. Oh my gosh, he was so happy to talk to us at MegaCon. Mm-hmm. We got him on the show. We need to get him in touch with you guys. You guys would love having him on. He's an experiencer, and he was just so bottled up. Everything was so bottled up.
Okay, what about something that, because you guys have been at this for a while, a tick or two, so to speak, on the clock. What is something that really surprised you when you started going down the research path of it?
Starting out for me, because I like having compartments. I like putting things in nice organized boxes and being able to put things in order, so to speak. When it came to the Bigfoot phenomena, I was very, very black and white with the matter, and I dismissed a lot of the orb and the more unnatural behavior stuff, like the teleporting, the cloaking, etc. I always just assumed that was like mistaken. That was something that somebody was fabricating. It was something that somebody thought they saw, because the way our memory works, when we remember things, we're remembering the memory. We're not actually bringing up the full true memory. So there's this elasticity in our mind that can kind of get weebly wobbly and make sense of things that we might not been able to make sense of in the moment. But then later we started collecting some data that essentially was like a brick wall that I ran into. And then I started taking a different look at this, where I was like, okay, well, I have to go back and now pull all the records from Stan Gordon's files and dig through his archive and start seeing and paying attention to some of this stuff a little bit more. And then here, just in recent years, God, not even recent years, just recent months, Matt Moneymaker has been making posts and talking about it openly, about some of these more bizarre, unnatural things that accompany some of these Bigfoot reports. So it started a long time ago. This stuff's been happening. These weird subject B type phenomena has been happening for a very long time, and it was dismissed because the powers that be said to dismiss it and that it was hokey or whatever. So for me, lumping all of that back in and having to go back through the data and look at the different reports, and due to the way I analyze information, I was able to actually create like, oh yeah, hey, look, this if you look at these reports, we have two totally different subjects here. The ones that are more weird, bizarre, strange, their physiology doesn't match up with the flesh and blood style. And then I was happy again. I was able to go back to my compartmentalization and being able to classify things. So for me, that was probably the most interesting or surprising thing, was essentially that there is far more bizarre and unusual stuff going on out in our woods than just Bigfoot or ghosts.
Yeah, we were getting all those emails from a few big names that were like, could you post this anonymously? Because if you post this and I get my name out there, I'm not going to be allowed on the TV shows anymore,
Right.
because I'm not saying it's a gorilla anymore. It's a lost ape. I'm saying I had a flash of green light, and then next thing I know, Bigfoot's dragging me somewhere, and I think I went through a portal. And it's like, okay, yeah, we'll share that out anonymously and just see what happens. And then immediately after that, we got an email from another big name who said, "Hey, Mark, that's happened to me, but please don't use my name." Like, really, guys? Come on.
I mean, it's happening all around, and that's what I've said. The foot in the door has begun, and that's what we've needed for so long, to get these people to actually talk about this stuff and realize, look, man, this is happening. I mean, we don't know what it is, and it's okay to not know what this is. It's fine. It's not okay to ignore it and to just assume that you have all the answers. That's ludicrous. And I guess that's why I'm here, because I did do that at once. I did make a mistake. Just like Joe, I thought I knew everything at one time, young and dumb back in the day. And that had to do, and like I said, I've had, the psychic experience, research, whatnot, out of body experiences, so forth and so on. And I started looking into some of the alien abduction lore back in the 90s. And I kept reading all these accounts and all these articles. And it's just like, these people, they're mistaken. They're just having out of body experiences. That's all it is. They're just having spontaneous out of body experiences, and they're thinking that's what this is. Because look, I've got books and I've been keeping logs for years, and I've got the same things wrote down in here. This is all this is. And then I think Joe and I both, this is one of the things that we do to this day. We follow the data. And if you don't follow the data, you're doing a disservice to yourself. And that was my first early lesson, to follow the data. And it wasn't all just as simple as, you're mistaken this. There were reasons why those things look similar, because there is an outside intelligence at work of some sort. We don't know what it is. And it does follow the same modus, so to speak. We don't know why. We don't know what we're dealing with. And if anyone tells you they do, they're lying to you. It's just that simple. But yeah, that was a big surprise to me, to actually have to sit down and say, look, this isn't hallucinatory. It's not in my head. This is real. There's something there.
I love that you said that. And I love that you brought that up, because one of the things, again, being newer into this sort of realm, I find it fascinating, the people that I feel like they use the word expert versus experienced, right? Because, this is not something that we've been able to really scientifically study and do all the normal stuff, right? So to go, I'm an expert on this, and what I know is more than you, and you're wrong. And I'm like, we got to be careful going down that route and thinking we know everything, and then telling other people that they're incorrect on it, because it's kind of like the theory, just of what I've heard of Bigfoot as an example, right? There seem to be very different versions or species, I don't know what word we want to use for it, across the country, even, and in other countries and sizes. So to go, it's this one thing. I'm like, how can you even go there if you just listen to some of the stories that you hear? So I love that you said that. I think that's amazing.
These are hard lessons. I mean, and Joe, you can take over right here, but our number one rule:
Yeah, everything goes on the table.
Everything goes on the table. There are
The
no
data does
experts.
not care about your
Nope.
feelings. It doesn't care about what your preconceived notions are. It doesn't care about what you might have found last week. That is why it's so important to have these different compartments and different classifications, and why it's so important that we have some form of lexicon change, or an established lexicon within the whole community of the paranormal, unexplained, cryptozoology, etc.
The
Yeah.
technology changes every year, and the research methods change constantly. And the TV shows, of course, push one thing because it makes good TV, and then those of us in the field are pushing different things, and then those of us that are trying to correlate everything are like, wait, guys, we got to meet in the middle here somewhere. And it amazes me how, look, back when we started, when I was first starting, the Bigfoot people wouldn't talk to the UFO people. UFO people wouldn't talk to the ghost people. Ghost people wouldn't talk to anybody. And it was amazing to me that I was like, wait a minute, you guys are all in the same buildings. You're in the same areas. And now we've got places like, television like Skinwalker Ranch, and suddenly, oh, okay, it's okay. Now we can talk about all this stuff.
Well, if you look at the bylaws and the mission statements for these organizations, the big few organizations that are out there, they even talk about in those statements that they don't talk.
Yeah.
If you have a Bigfoot report or a UFO report, go share it with the other. We don't want to look into that. We're not interested.
Yeah, and that's a disservice.
Yeah,
Like it was a mandate. It was an official mandate, not even just a suggestion or a personality type or trait that came up. It was actually part of the gig.
Yep. I was MUFON and even BFRO both had that for a while. Thankfully, I think BFRO took it out. So
BFRO took it out.
Yeah.
Effectively in October.
Yeah. Just literally last year. So
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. There's a big reason for that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Matt's had experiences. That's what it
Matt's
boils down to.
Matt's one of the ones now that he's come out about it. It's like, okay, now some of these other guys who've sent me the anonymous stuff, I think might be willing to do a little more, but we'll see. We'll see. I've got one of them just about to step out of the shadows too. So we'll see.
Well, it's a domino effect. So, we're hoping.
Well, because we're going to have to take a break here in a minute. One of my questions is, what was your first ghost experience like?
Or have you had one?
Trying to remember the first. I think the best, I wouldn't say it was the first, but it was probably the best, was the shadow being encounter at the old bread factory in Charleston here in West Virginia. We were doing an investigation. This has been, 2012, probably 2011, something like that. And we were up on this dead end floor. You come in on a freight elevator, and there is no other way off the place other than that freight elevator. So we all came up, had our gear with us. We were all looking around, this big studio apartment type deal. Well, in this one room, there are windows, and you can see out into the hallway back to where that freight elevator is. And as we come around the corner and we're in there, I can see this person, tall, dark person coming down the hallway. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, everybody's here. So I turned and I went around the corner to go chase this person and try to figure out what's going on. And as soon as I turned around the corner, there's nobody there. And we tried to recreate that, couldn't recreate it. The camera guy, we were documenting stuff even back then, data is data, it's important. And he was like, oh, you had to just see a reflection, had to be a reflection. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess, but it wasn't a reflection. It was solid. It was solid. It was dark. It was tall, and it was there. And that was a pretty vivid one.
Well, now I have the heebie-jeebies, so thank you for that. I'm sorry I asked this question, but
well, that's the
I get myself into trouble with these things. So what about you, Joe? So I can be sufficiently freaked out before the break.
I'll go with one less freaky because the ghost stuff, I'm not sure what ghosts are. So like, I don't know what to classify as a ghost necessarily, but I have ghost cats. My kids see them. My wife sees them. We have ghost cats.
Now, you didn't have ghost cats. You have ghost cats now.
Well, once we started paying attention,
Uh-huh.
we had ghost cats. I don't know if it was whether we were paying attention to the phenomena to begin with, or we just weren't paying attention to crap falling over in the house, because stuff falls no matter where you live. But then when you start seeing them, and the kids start seeing them, because the kids, Rowan was 3 years old the first time he saw it, so that was several years after we'd already started doing investigations and whatnot. But yeah, ghost cats.
Nice.
Those cats, you're saying cats as in plural. So like a lot of them?
At least a few. At least a few. Well, there's one in the basement and two upstairs that like we can discern. We'll say that.
That was Key West, Hemingway's house. He has the six-toed cats, right? They're a very specific breed to him. And the caretakers there all talk about certain ones have passed on, but then they're still there. And they see them, the ones that no longer have that coloration, they'll see them and they'll move things around and knock things over. So yeah, there's a precedent for it. So
well, the previous owner of our home, apparently there's like dozens of dead animals out in my flower beds and along the side yards, because they were notorious for adopting senior animals from shelters. So like, yeah, they were gluttons for punishment, I guess. It's to do that routinely, I think, is just torturous for yourself and your own psyche. But now I have ghost cats, so
living in Pet Cemetery. Just
I was going to say, you have a pet cemetery. That's what you have.
Watch for Fred Gwynn going, it's that damn road that kills people.
Oh my gosh, travelers, we're going to take a break before Mark keeps going down whatever path he was just on, and we will be right back with that after a word from our sponsor.
The sweltering heat of the Florida sun breaks as a chill runs down your spine. A dark shadow looms from a nearby tourist trap. You didn't expect to find this kind of shade in Florida. If only there was some sort of travel guide to steer you through the spookier locales. Well, you're in luck, reader. Join author Mark Muncy and Carrie Schultz as they lead you through the darkest locations in the Sunshine State in creepy Florida. Available from History Press and at fine bookstores everywhere.
Prepare to be devoured. The Wolves of Wharton is a 6-part complete book series by Eerie Travels producer Beau Lake. It has been called dark and visceral, steamy, dramatic, and a fresh take on the werewolf mythos. If you like action, adventure, a large serving of body horror, and some steamy relations, the Wolves of Wharton series is for you. Pick it up wherever books are sold, or at linktree.com/Beau__Lake.
We are back, and Mark is talking about his pet ghost.
Well, yeah, they were talking about pet ghosts, so we were talking about pet ghosts on the break. So it was too much fun. So, but like us, we don't like to call them ghosts either. We like to call it preternatural phenomena. I like the Shirley Jackson, that it's stuff we don't understand yet. It could be anything. It's just rules we don't understand, things we don't understand, and rules you don't know till you break them. So
well, the most unused Carl Sagan quote out there is that there are tons of unknown things just waiting to be known.
Yeah, exactly.
And that one gets overlooked. Everybody goes to extraordinary, blah, 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 blah. That's the one everybody goes to.
Yep.
Instead of other Saganistic quotes.
Yes. I mean, he even admitted that was one of the things he wanted to learn more. And even Einstein's like, seeing the atom and stuff, he was like, I want to see more. I know there's more out there. I need to prove it, and couldn't get there. All right, back to Monster May though. You've done the research, you've done all this stuff, and we talked a little bit of Godzilla here. So Monster May, what is your go-to monster movie? When you just got nothing else, you need to cheer up. What monster makes you besides you can name
Besides
a series.
Godzilla destroying Tokyo,
You
Wow.
can go with that.
the Predator series, the belligerent mayhem and wanton destruction and dismemberment. I love it.
You are a very, very, very strange person sometimes.
Oh yeah, but I grew up watching this stuff, man. Like
Yeah.
I think the first time I watched The Predator, I was like 5, and I was just like, yes,
Yeah.
like it was the one of my I think it was my uncle or somebody rented it from the local. It wasn't even a Blockbuster because we grew up in like BFE. So
Yeah.
it was the Trading Post. That's what the joint was called. And they
The
had one of
Trading
movies
Post.
there.
Oh, that's
And
the good stuff comes from the Trading Post.
that's right. And so he brought in the Predator movie one weekend. We watched it, and I was just like, yes, this is amazing. He was like, wait till we see aliens. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So then the aliens saga started.
Never cared for it.
I gotta ask, because you said Godzilla and now you said aliens. What did you think of Cloverfield then?
I loved Cloverfield. I was kind of on the fence with the second one, but the original, I was so hyped up because everybody at the time Cloverfield came out was thinking that it was this undercover Godzilla movie.
That's right.
And that's why the Muto in the new era Godzilla movies that started in the legendary verse were those weird mutant monsters to pay off that old idea that that was going to be what the creature was. Instead, it was that god awful, ugly creature. I loved the movie. I loved the suspense and the oh my god moments. Those were great. I absolutely hated the creature design because as a person who loves creature design specifically, like I think the influence from Aliens and Predator and then Godzilla and stuff like that. That's kind of like I love that style of collectibles. Like my walls littered with that stuff behind me. But from a creature design aspect, the Muto in Cloverfield was just lazy. So I loved the movie, hated the monster aesthetic. Like it could have been anything but that and been way cooler.
Yeah, it was not. It was a little anticlimactic, the build up and then that, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's like, okay, yeah, back to the bell tower. Because it just looked like a grown up, like and opposite of Honey I Shrunk the Kids version of the Hunchback of Notre Dame with claws.
Yes. That's a good way of putting it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll never look at it the same again.
Now Mark's gonna go watch that movie just to have that sensation when he's watching it. And then he's gonna be like, oh, I wish I hadn't done
I just wish I had the battery life of that camcorder that guy had back when he was filming for 2 days.
Man.
That must be nice.
That will preach right there, Mark.
That's the technology I want.
That's the alien tech that we really need.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. I don't care. You can keep your flying cars. You can keep your 0-point energy devices that power a small city. I just want a camcorder that I can record 4K, 8K, whatever it may be in the future on for at least 2 hours
without it dying.
Yes, that's what I want.
Without needing 4 backups and
and a charger generator with remote battery charger.
Exactly, Joe. Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
I love that you guys are all researchers and you said that. It's so funny because put that in a different room completely. People would be like, what? What are you thinking?
Well, we're researchers, but we're also creators, and we've documented stuff from literally day one. Did we know each other when I was doing Ghost Watch? Or
I was working with you at the pest store.
Yeah.
That was the first. The last year of Ghost Watch was the first year that I was at the pest store.
That's right. That's right. You came in at the end. That's true. Probably a sign. But yeah, we were always documenting everything at that point because you just never know what's going to happen out there. I mean, typically you go out there and you look for the stuff, and if you're looking for it, you don't find it. But every now and again, you're kind of lucky.
Well, the first time that I ever went out on my own doing anything, we got a Bigfoot report, and I didn't have a GoPro back then. I didn't have anything. I just had my phone, and I was pouring a plaster cast, and I heard something like growl at me from up on the hill. And then there was a wood knock, and I was just like, I'm getting my camera, because if I die, I'm in throwing range of my truck. Somebody will find my phone and find my truck, and then they'll watch on here, and I'll be like, the last dying words, he's right there, as I turn the camera around. And then, you hear the blood curdling, like squelching, sucking noises. Yeah.
Man, you're just not right.
Wow. I like
that's
that.
for real.
That's
That's
the
why I pulled the
direction
camera out and
that
filmed it.
went. I love that. The direction it went was breaking bones to suck the marrow out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was where my brain
that.
went immediately. That's why I
He
pulled out
does
my
that.
phone. I was like, if I die, I'm gonna get this on camera. That way everybody knows exactly what happened. And it will be my crowning achievement.
So now that we fast forward that we don't have the bone breaking marrow being sucked out, what was your last hunt like?
The last what?
The last expedition looking for Mr. Bigfoot.
Or other things, because you guys had an experience, I believe, last year that made some ripples. I watched.
Oh yes, Ron, go ahead, talk about that.
Which one?
The Logan encounter.
Oh, the Logan encounter. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good encounter. That was we caught something on
Well, hold on. I'm going to preface this real quick for all the listeners, the millions and millions listening at home. Okay. We started hosting events and including these things that had never been done on the East Coast before, which were workshops. They were how-to sessions, in-depth how-to sessions. Some of them would last up to a day, but when we hosted our Wild and Weird Con or anything else, we would break them up and we would do many lessons. Like if it is very focused, but for like an hour, it was just on one topic. And we would teach you how to do a thing, right? Well, this was during one of those workshops that we host. And we always tell people, hey, don't expect anything to happen. We're teaching you, we're showing you how to use equipment, blah, 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 blah. So we were the people on the East Coast who brought this stuff in and is now you see other places picking this up now and doing it, which is awesome. It's really, really cool. It'd be even cooler if they were like, those guys, that's where we got it, but we'll take it. We'll take it either way. But anyway, Ron.
Well, what we did is we had asked, Jesse was with us at the time on the podcast, and hey, would you come in and do this little demo for everybody? So it'll be fun. Sure. All right. So we go in and we do this. They do this nice little demo. There's a listening station. There's a IR station. There's a thermal station. Just things for people to get their hands on and learn how this stuff works. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. So at the listening station,
very small, very intimate group.
Yeah. Like I think it was 20 people, something like that.
Yep. We capped it at 20. It was like 28 people with the workers included.
Yeah. So we're out there on the trail and I'm along just to video. That's it. I'm not doing anything. I'm going along to get some B-roll because I'm getting the going to document the fact that we did this for promotions for Wild and Weird Con, again. And
I'm back at
he's cooking.
Lodge because every time we do a workshop, I'm a classically trained chef. I feed everybody. It's part of the price.
So he's cooking.
So I'm back at a campfire making a camp style dinner where I've got a big fire going and I'm nowhere
chili.
near anybody.
Just amazing chili, by the way. But as soon as we step out onto the trail to go up there, all the power goes out in the lodge. Everything dies. And there's some discussion about, should we keep going on? Well, yeah, might as well. It's pitch dark out here. We all got our headlamps. We're good. Let's go. So we went on out and it was at the IR station. Nothing happens. And everybody gets to play with that. Then we go up to the listening station. The listening station, someone's like, hey, I hear something down in the valley. Now, what's really funny is about 3 days before this, we had just got our very first thermal, courtesy of us winning the 2022 big.
Oh, no, that was Mothman,
year, right?
Mothman was what got us the thermal.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah,
well.
Mothman got us the thermal, and then the backup batteries and some of the other fancy we won. What Ron was going to say was we won the 2022 Bigfoot Researchers of the Year.
Yep.
And that was through the bigfootforums.com. And yeah, we got a whole bunch of other hardware that time. This was the just prior to that.
We had just got it, and about 3 days or so before. And I thought, well, that'd be cool to get some video or, some thermal video of this deer down the valley or whatever. I thought it's possum. Who knows? Who knows what it is? Turn it down into the valley and you can see it. I mean, everybody's got their phones out and it'll share over to multiple devices. And everybody's watching this thing down in the valley. And I'm like, wait a minute, something's not right here. I have Jess come over and look at it. She's like, well, what is it? I'm like, I have no idea what that is. You tell me. And we sit there and look, and she's like, here's what people don't get. She's got an IR. She's looking down in that valley with an IR as she's standing right beside me. And there's nothing on it. Cause she even says there's nothing down there. I can't see anything. And yet there it is on thermal. Cause
she was using sophisticated night vision.
Yeah. I've heard multiple people keep saying, oh, well, it's just 100 down there and, blah, blah, blah. We would have seen any indication, especially with that IR, especially, with the thermal, we would have seen an indication of some sort of headlamp or something. Because remember, it's pitch dark. And I mean, when we turn the lights out, you don't see your hand in front of your face. The moon hadn't come up yet.
The moon this night was actually below the horizon until around midnight, 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it was crazy. So it was dark. And they're like, okay, well, and then when it starts to walk, it takes that one step and everybody just stops at that point. It's like, what in the world is going on? All right, we got to get up to the thermal station and we look down in that valley. I'm like, all right, let's go do that. And I really wanted to stay there, but I wasn't going to stay there by myself. So we all ran up to the thermal station, looked down the valley, and there's not a thing there. There's nothing down there. But, I don't know. There was wood knocks heard. Apparently, there was some other stuff that happened before we went up on that trail. And, the icing on the cake is as soon as we come back out the trail and as soon as our feet hit the pavement to go back into the lodge, the power comes back on.
Wow.
And then weird stuff happened the next day as we went up there to investigate that. And this is where subject B reared its head. And it just
got some strange radiation readings. And
again,
because of some prior experience with thermal technology that I'd had many, many moons ago, I just figured, we'll point it towards the sky. What's the worst we can capture? And sure enough, there was a UFO right there, darting across the sky at Mach Jesus, and then rebounded on itself on a dime. And then two others blipped, like they weren't there previously. They just showed up, and they were moving around erratically, and then buzzed off the horizon. And we tested it against bugs. We tested it against birds. We even had Ben Hansen look at it.
Best Ben could say was possibly bats, but even that, he was like, I just don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I mean, no one knows what it is. That's the problem. And since that, we've recorded it in multiple locations. What's really strange about it is every time we go out to do these things, it seems like something, when we're looking for one thing, something else always pops up. That's what it seems like. And that alone is a data set that we've observed multiple times now. And I just don't know what that is. And there seems to be a form of intelligence behind it. And I don't know. I can't really say anything more about that right now. I can tell you there's an ongoing investigation and you'll see it soon. But it's really, it doesn't even matter. When you see it, you're still like, what does that mean? How is that even possible?
You're left scratching your head.
You really do. And that's not an exaggeration. I've seen a lot of stuff over the years, but what we have managed to capture over the past, year, just a year, because, it started with the UAP thing and it just went down a rabbit hole from there. It just seems to escalate. And that escalation almost seems artificial.
It's like we were talking about with UAPs being, the government actually talking about them now and all that stuff. That's stuff I never thought was going to happen in my lifetime. And, but here we are, but then they're still not saying anything, but that's how they play the game. We all know that. So
it's a push and pull game. It really is. And there's reasons I think that some of these secrets are in place, but I do see that there's definitely there's a break in the dam at this point. So we'll see. I don't know where it's going to go. But I do agree with some of these people who are, remember the whole ontological shock thing that we were talking about a year or so ago. And there's a reason we talked about that. Some of this stuff is just, it's so bizarre that it really, like Joe said, it leaves you scratching your head. It really makes you say, what, how does this fit? I don't understand. Yet you do really understand. It's just that you don't want to understand because it really causes you to reevaluate a lot of things.
I mean, it's interesting you say that because I'm curious to know, one of the things that I've observed is if people are willing to acknowledge stuff around them versus going, no, it's this, no, it's that, you know what I mean? Do you feel
Yeah.
like that opens you up to more, I guess? I don't know if I'm phrasing that right,
Sure, I
but
know what you
like,
mean. I know what you mean. As far as it goes, we haven't honestly tested that theory because it seems like every time we're out there, we're very open-minded. So even by that theory, we still should be experiencing something because we're open-minded. Now, I have been in the field with people who have never seen anything at all. They say they want to, yet they keep saying, I've never seen anything. I've never seen anything. So it makes you wonder if there is some kind of a perception thing going on that only, there's something to do with your ability to think about these things. What do you think, Joe?
That's really hard to quantify.
Yeah.
Because there are so many variables that go into what could and couldn't be going on. It would almost, if the perception was what was holding people back or lack thereof, then that would point that literally every aspect of the phenomena is intelligent.
If that's the case, we're in trouble.
Right. And so, you have people that are like magnets, weird magnets, and you have people who are the opposite end of the weird magnet who seem to repel all the weird and strange phenomena. We've met both sides of that magnet.
Yep.
And then you've got people who want to see things, and then when you put them in the situation that they do see things, they're like, don't want to see that again.
Yeah.
Because we've had that happen at the workshops itself.
Yep.
Where people who've come in, they're like, oh yeah, we're excited. We'd love to be able to see something. We want to come here to learn how to see something, learn how to do this.
Then
and
they
then
turn
all of a sudden it
into white
happens.
sheets.
Yeah.
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 When it happens unexpectedly and everybody's like, well, okay, good thing we have all of our gear. This turned into an active research site.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And we've seen that a couple of times repeated. And you have to ask yourself why in the world this is happening because we even joked at all these. It's like, oh, I hope nothing happens at this one. Man, I hope nothing happens at this
Yeah,
one.
particular to the last couple.
I mean, our greatest asset is the fact that we have 25 or more people there who are active witnesses, and they will vouch for it to this day. Yeah, I was there. It happened.
Yeah,
do you guys feel, because you've done with a lot of people, and I think any travelers who are listening, please, of course, absolutely listen to your guys' show and do that. But if you're interested in learning how to do this, find out about your workshops. But do you feel from your experience when you're interacting with people, almost like the energy of being able to see who's more open to it than others?
You can definitely feel it, I think. I mean, when they come to the table, for example, and they'll start talking, there's always this, first of all, there's this nervousness. And then after they realize that they're in good company, they just spill at that point.
Yeah.
And I've had them say, them, not us. I've had them say, yeah, I felt the energy. I knew you guys. I could talk to you guys because we're on the same wavelength or whatever. It's like, yeah, there's something there. I mean, like Joe called it earlier, it's the weird magnet. It's the attraction to this kind of a phenomenon and the ability to actually talk about it. But the more people are talking about it, the better. And I get it. There's some things you don't want to talk about. I agree, and it's okay. There's a couple of things I can't really divulge at this point either, but one day, yes. And it's all part of the journey. You say it when you need to, and the right person will hear it when they're supposed to.
So what's your next workshop since we've been talking about them?
The next workshop is actually this coming weekend, May 18th, and that is our paranormal workshop. We're going to be actually meeting in Point Pleasant. By the time this episode airs, you'll have seen some of the results from the tests that we've ran there.
God, I hope nothing happens.
We're going to be doing a few different tests with the thermal, a few different tests with well, this comes out after the workshop. So
Yeah, so go ahead
have
and
a
tell it.
portable, we've got a portable EEG machine, 2 of them.
Nice.
And we're going to be doing some brainwave studies and meditation studies and seeing what kind of things happen, testing validity of some of these experiencers' claims to have been able to make contact and looking at what the brain does during those times. We're also going to have some balloons. We're going to try to recreate the jellyfish thermal that got famous over the summer.
Yeah.
We're going to test it. We're going to see, because there's a lot of people saying, oh, it was just these balloons and whatever. And we're going to test it. We're getting the Mylar balloons. We're going to fly them and we're going to see. And because the thermals that we're using now are better than the thermals in the age that thing was filmed in. So we should be able to pretty well replicate that. Then we're planning our next Bigfoot workshop. The most definitely, the one that's going to happen definitely is in October. We're going to try to plan one through the summer in a new location, but we're definitely going to be having one in October. It's going to be our traditional Bigfoot workshop that we host every year that everybody loves. That'll be in October. Stay tuned for dates. Just keep an eye on Wild and Weird Radio's page and Wild and Weird West Virginia's page. It'll be announced. And this is part of the thing. Like, we offer up those workshop spots live.
Yeah, and they go fast.
They were offered out to our live listeners and our folks who join us every Thursday night at 8 p.m. They get first dibs. So if you want to be sure that you get your pass to go into the workshop, you want to be listening, you want to be in, and we do make announcements like the 2 weeks prior. We'll say, hey, look, we're going to be doing this. And this is the date that we're going to do the live pass sale. And that's when we do it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's so much fun. You're the Wild and Weird Live. It is so much fun. You guys are so much fun, and the audience interaction is so much fun. It's very much like our listeners and our fellow travelers, and I love it because it's not just you talking at them. It's a live conversation happening.
It's their show.
Yeah.
It was always meant to be their show. That was always our goal. When we first started the podcast, was one day we want to be able to do this live. And it wasn't, that was Wayne who actually suggested that back in the day.
Wayne wanted to do it live back in the day.
And we just couldn't back then. And yeah, that's what we do. So that's it.
It's an amazing experience. We were thrilled to be part of it, and hope to be back again at some point.
Sure.
If you guys will forgive our transgressions last time.
You're
That's
fine.
mainly Mark you have to forgive. I'm a brilliant person to have on any sort of show. People love me.
Oh my gosh.
It was great. It was a great
all right,
show.
guys. So we're getting time to wrap it up here, sadly. So let's do some shameless self-promotion. We already kind of mentioned the website, but give it out again. We'll put the links in the show notes, but let them know where they can find you guys.
You can find us at wildandweirdwv.com, or go to YouTube and just type in Wild and Weird WV. You'll find us there. Or you can go to YouTube and type in Wild and Weird WV. Oh, guess what? That's all the same, isn't it?
Yep.
We tried to make it simple. Wild and Weird WV at gmail.com. Wild and Weird WV on YouTube. Wild and Weird WV.com. All the wild and weird, all in our place. So come check it out. Come hang out with us Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, YouTube or Facebook. We'd prefer you to come over to YouTube. That way we don't just see Facebook user in the chat and we know who we're talking to. So
and say something while you're there. It's very interactive.
Yeah. It's a wide open community. Everybody there is really cool, really, really funny, and we have a great time.
And you have the Men in Black there too. That was
yes.
We get our
all the time.
We get a letter from X about once every month, and he says he's not a Man in Black, but he knows a lot about him.
Enough, the Men in Black showed up on our show after a full catalog download from Washington D.C.
Nice.
Yeah, they've been around ever since, and they're kind of like herpes. We can't get rid of them.
X showed up. X showed up right about the time we were going to be interviewing Tanya Derenberger before she passed.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, and then suddenly we got an email from him describing all our conversations. I'm like, okay, how did this happen? And then he mentioned a few conversations Erika and I had in private that was like, wait a minute, this has to be this one guy is a friend of mine. He knows all this stuff. And then he had no idea what we were talking about. He didn't even know we were at that event that weekend and all that.
That's Andrew Cold. That's who that is.
That's we're convinced. So
well, I would say it would be, except for the behavior of this person is not in the friendly realm. We're gonna say it's not in the completely friendly realm. So with that, Mark, since we're at time, do you want to take us away, my friend? It was so wonderful having both of you on this show. We have to have you back. This has been so much fun.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Kathleen.
anytime.
Enjoyed
Just
it.
say when.
all right, we will definitely have you back at some point. And gang out there listening in podcast land, please listen to these guys, join their show. It's amazing. We love them dearly. We are just thrilled to be all in the one big happy crazy bus on our way to the preternatural disclosure at some point. Please, we're all one big happy family here, and support your fellow podcasters and all that. So with that said, we're on the road this month a lot. So thank you all for joining us for Monster May, and keep listening when you can. And we will be at all these events. So visit us at eerietravels.com to see where we're going to be, where we're next going to be. Happy to sign things for you and all that. Happy to just say hi and all that. And if you want to tell us your story, drop us the email. It's also the links there. So with that said, we are going to be heading out on this road. We're going to be driving up through the mountains of West Virginia. We'll keep our eyes open for thermal imaging. We'll keep our ears open for unknown sounds in the woods, and we will always see you on the other side.
And remember, when you're traveling down these roads on these dark and dusty nights, if you hear a strange sound, no, you didn't. Stay wild and weird, everybody.